Hi, I'm Brian Setzer, and I'm going to show you a little bit about rockabilly guitar as it occurs to me, which is pretty much a jumble of all the styles that I can throw together: rock and roll, blues, jazz, swing, bop, and just, you know, good old plain rockabilly music. Part of the idea for me for playing rockabilly music is to kind of leave spaces and leave holes in your rhythm playing. Let me show you how I hold the pick. I hold the pick between my first finger and my thumb when I'm doing single string. And then when I finger pick, I tuck it up in my finger like that. So let me give you an example. So what I do there is I'm tucking the pick up in my forefinger so I can go back and forth between single strings and finger picking. I don't know if that'll work for you, but that's kind of how I get my sounds. I'd like to play you a little chord sort of melody behind a song, rather than just strum out a rhythm all the time or swinging. I like to leave little spaces and finger pick in between it all. I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to sing over it a little bit too. I don't know if you'll get it. Well, I've been hanging around this town too long. Seems like every woman's telling me wrong. She's in love, but I'm in lust. I'm a suitcase gathering dust. Now, what that does is leave spaces and creates little melodies within the song without just having to go, well, I've been hanging around this town too long. Seems like every woman's done me wrong. It's a little more interesting than just strumming through it like that. So let me show you kind of what I did again. Actually, I'll probably turn it down a little bit, maybe hear the singing a little better. And just leave some spaces and play some pretty much the chords that I'm playing through there. So it's in G. Whoa. That was a G, feeding back G. So we'll start it off. Well, I've been hanging around this town. Got it? Let me show you a couple little things I did in there. I'm starting off with kind of it's not a really perfect finger pick in there, but you get the idea of it, on the G, which is... And my thumb isn't really doing a perfect rhythm back and forth. I'm just kind of hitting the bass notes. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's just the idea that the notes are ringing back there. And I'm playing around with my pinky on all the top strings for a melody. What you can do with that is then you take the G chord and you make it a seventh and you slide down. Here's your G. So when it's going to the seventh, you just slide down. Well, da, 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 and it's going to the seventh. Da, da. It leads perfectly into the next chord, which is a C. And I've chosen to play a C9. C9. So let's take it up to there. Well, I've been hanging around this town too long. Seems like every woman's done me wrong. She's in love, but I'm in lust. Well, my suitcase gathering dust. Okay. So now we've got to the C9. And you're thinking, well, I'm on the C9. An interesting little trick that just creates kind of music, and it's kind of just connecting all these chords. My suitcase gathering dust. Diminished chord, G diminished chord on the top. Keep your pinky on that G. And the next chord is a G. So that leads perfectly into that G. Suitcase gathering dust, baby. That's making music. So, suitcase gathering dust. And I'm just skipping with the finger picking. Bum, 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 bum. It's just kind of like an offbeat syncopation. And that's what keeps the whole thing swinging. So it's, I've been hanging around this town too long. Seems like every woman's done me wrong. It's just a little trick, the seventh. Da-da-da. She's in love, but I'm in lust. Well, my suitcase gathering dust. Baby, 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 I'll see you someday. I'm just doubling the melody I'm singing there. Whoops, I'll keep this on the screen. Suitcase gathering dust. Baby, 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 I'll see you someday. Little mistake in there. That's how it's supposed to go. So that's the whole pattern. So what I'm playing here in the beginning is a little trick now it comes into. So that's a G, really, a G chord with an E on the top. Da, 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 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which would make it a G major 6, or G6, really. Which, the great thing about playing rockabilly for me is that you make up your own chords as you go. It doesn't matter if you're in G, if you play a G6, a G13, G9. You could just take liberties with the whole thing and make this stuff up as you go. So that's that G6. Just jumping around, bopping. Kind of use my pick and fingers indiscriminately, so I'll try and keep it all the same. I'll just do it with my fingers this time. That's of course, that's just the turnaround, and I'm playing the top 3 strings, giving it a little melody with it. So I'll just do it one more time for you. also, when you're pulling strings, when you're bending them, doing a two-note bend, I guess Chuck Berry taught us all that one. Really, it's good to bend up like that. I'm kind of picking two strings on the bottom. Maybe you should get this. This is pretty cool. Two strings on the, like that, at once. And then when I bend, I just move my fingers over. It's just good center rock and roll stuff, those, you know, two single strings. Yeah. Okay. I guess I'd like to run through a solo that I would play in that song, a typical guitar solo that I would do. And I'll play it for you once. So you got the idea of the rhythm now, what I would be doing on the rhythm, leaving spaces, holes, bopping through it, swinging back and forth, having a general disregard for music. Here's the solo I would play for that. Yeah, I pulled that one out of the hat. All right, well, what I'm doing, too, is I'm creating different sounds by going back and forth. The rhythm pickup on my guitar is up. That's just the rhythm pickup. And, of course, in the middle is both. And down is just the bridge pickup, the treble pickup. And I'm just going back and forth, kind of leaving a little space, a little time so I can knock it back, knock it in the middle, and knock it down. Just indiscriminately as I hear the solo, as I hear the music coming. Let me see if I could slow down that solo for you and just show you a little stuff that I'm doing in there. Okay, the first thing, this pretty little nifty thing, we're still using that major 6. Just to get funky. Again, I'm just using my fingers on this part. My thumb is hitting the G string, and my second and third finger popping the others. I just do that about 4 times. When it's done, I know. Right? That's a nice little thing, because it takes it to the 7th. Oh, no, we're in D. Just like a nice D9. Oh, I keep messing that up. Slower. That's really nice. So it's like with the imaginary band behind you. Well, I think what I was doing, I was just kind of... I'm just kind of mandolining it on that for added drama. And then I slide into, just to take it back out of the finger picking stuff. This is like a pedal steel chord here. And of course I get the added luxury of a Bigsby. I mean, I couldn't play guitar without one, but that's just for a nice little waiver. So I'm coming at a... Bum, 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 bum. Just like a real, almost like a saxophone swing. So there's your G. Bum, bum. And then it goes to a C. So, like I said, taking liberties with this, I just play a C. I think it's a C6 with an E on the top. As long as the notes are relatively in the chord, if you're in a major chord, you could play the, 1. Major 7, major 6, just kind of experimenting around. You kind of come up with these things. That's really nice sound. It sounds like a steel. Da, 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 da. So it's going. And of course, when you bend the Bigsby, it's doing weird things, because some notes go down a little more than others. It doesn't really matter. And then I shift into 5th, 4th if you ride a Harley. Yeah, that's nasty, right? 2nd finger on your E, 3rd finger on the B flat, and you're hitting these two, D and a G on the 1st finger. I'm using my 2nd and 3rd fingers there to pull them. Whatever pattern you want to play is cool. Whatever you want to do. Again, I'm just playing off a G chord. All those notes are in a G chord. Okay, then I got a cool little trick. That's really neat. Take your pinky, put it on B flat, 1st finger on G. Pull it off. Da-da-da. Move it over a string. It almost sounds backwards. That's the whole cool thing, is taking those chances and liberties, and sometimes you take them and it doesn't work. But it does work sometimes, again, in a funky way, like that. Da-da-da-dum, because we're in D. Third finger pulls that E to an F sharp. And then you got the A on top. D in your 1st finger. That's neat. Just a little funky thing. When you go on to the 3rd string, pull the C with your 3rd finger. C to C sharp. And then you got your pinky on F. Right. Again, that's all playing in G. G and D, you can play off on each other. It's all just right in that position there. Now what I would do there, so I did kind of That was pretty rockin' stuff. Now I'd hold that note, switch, and just swing. Down. Oh, that was a C minor. Well, you can put that in there. That's better. That's just a G scale. That's just a G major scale. And what I'm doing is, you see, you should play those passing notes in there, the passing tones. That's what makes bebop. That's what makes swing. Is when you play all those little connecting tones. See, it's not in the scale, but it works when you swing it. Okay, that's the first part. That's the G. So now where is it going to now? It's going to C, the next chord, right here. There's a 7. Any of those notes and passing tones you'll play in there will work. C, and it goes like this. And then I just end it with some schmaz. And you're back to the G. So, what did I do again? Just the 2-note stuff. Back to. It's a part of the D7 chord. And that's it. Ready to get on that train? Okay. Finger picking. Good rockabilly finger picking doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, like Chet Atkins or something. That's, you know, spot-on perfect stuff. The good part about the rockabilly stuff is, you know, it can be messy because you have those strings droning and you have some fun with it. Yeah, that's... I just want to explain one thing, that you can have, what I'm doing is, again, major 6, and then... I'm just throwing them in there and playing the riff, and it just kind of works. That's just kind of experimenting. It's actually the same chord, but I'm just playing around with notes that are in that chord and then bringing it back into the E. Whoa! And we're back. Well, that was good fun, good clean fun there. Some of it was a little dirty, a little distorted, but that's part of the fun. What did I want to tell you here? A lot of the stuff I did in that, first of all, a lot of that stuff live flies out the window, because live you're kind of just really going for it, and you can just bend a note and live on that note and get in somebody's face in the front row and hold the guitar at them. And that says more than kind of doing a lot of fancy, quick stuff. But I'd like to show you some of it. Let me show you this. This is a nice little sort of bebop run. After I come out of the finger picking, usually. I like to always mix it up. So in other words, I'll start. That's a nice chord to play off of right there. That's an E9. And you lift up your pinky. Da-da-da-da-da. That sounds like a harp chord. And you finger pick off of that. That's a nice one. So usually after I come out of that, I'll go into like a sort of single string thing. That's just all single string bop. So I start on an E scale, and an E scale, of course I can use those passing tones to make it work. Then I drop down to a little diminished scale. So let's run by that again. I'm in E. Then it goes into the A, and I'll do something really funky and play this diminished thing. And then I'm back in E. And that's just a little sort of picking thing, so it'll sound like this. Like that, go back into finger picking, or if you got a Bigsby, they're awful fun to go. Get a little seasick with it. Okay, let's see. I have a bunch of pedals here that really I don't rely on. They're kind of just for fun, you know, really. It's kind of like bells and whistles. Really the sound comes out of the guitar. And my fingers. For some reason, I get more of a sound out of a hollow body instrument. I was never really able to play a solid body guitar and get a really good tone out of it. I find that the instrument really, a lot of sound comes out of it. It really breathes. And I play with it. I go by the amps and get feedback from it and shake it and rattle it and kick it. So on something like that, just to keep the entertainment factor up, I maybe would kick in some of these pedals. This is an octave box that I use. It's kind of neat for double and single string things only. You can't play chords with it. I'll show you how it works. Woo! This is chorus, which is nice for, you know, we're in love. This is a little bit of it, gives a little swirly sort of feel. That's nice, especially if you're playing with a three-piece band. This is a tube screamer thing. It's for, you know, overdriven sound without getting a lot of, well, without getting really any more volume. You could actually make it lower, but it just, you know, it beefs up for a real screaming sort of. Be wild. And the next one is, I think, about the same. It's just to a lesser degree of sustain for a little less of a distorted sound. It's about the same thing. And then the wah-wah is kind of fun. You can do this pedal steel effect with that. Woo. Pretty neat. All right, some more things that I just played. Little tricks and flourishes and stuff like that. This is cool. Like that. So this is just an A, right? Ta-da, like an A6, and I'm kind of gliding my pick over these while muting on the bridge. So I'm pulling off on the last one. I'm just changing the chord and descending with the melody lines, but it's pretty much an easy thing to do. I just pull off. Okay, now you're an A, and you want to think of something cool to do besides play something in this position. Which everybody knows, that little sort of run, and people run off of that. Okay, so now suppose you're going back and forth from A to E, and you want to do something a little different in A. Why not try something like, what I would do is like an A9 run, and that would be. It brings me right back into E. So here's the beat. And that's breaking out of that really neat little bop thing, which is kind of innocent. And then you go into that, that's like a triplet. How I play that: thumb, thumb, middle finger. It sounds pretty awesome when you can get up to speed. It's really neat. And then I'm just going down the scale. Again, those are just notes that are popping into my head that are off of an E chord. And then you're an A. That's it. Okay, now suppose I want to do a little sort of bending thing. It sounds really cool when you don't use the pick and you use your fingers to pop the strings when you're bending. That's a kind of popping the strings there, and you're bending the string either up a third to match the note, and then you hold that. Or you're just bending it a little bit, like even less than a half a tone, a quarter tone, just to make it sound funky. So here's the way it would sound. Wow, surprised even me that one. That's pretty cool. I got to do that more. Now, suppose you want a different sort of sound on a pull-off. Everybody knows this little pull-off, right? Pinky, third, pull. Well, you can start on that. That sounds really neat. It sounds like a trumpet section or something. What I'm doing there is I'm just pulling off both strings at the same time with my fingers and just kind of, you know, breaking rules, messing around. Those notes shouldn't work, but because it's going by so quick, it sounds cool. So you start off. All the way down. Wait a minute. So I start off. That's it. Cool bends. Okay, let's take a funky sort of beat like. That's just all, keeping my thumb going. It's kind of like riding a bike, really, just getting that. Keeping the thumb going on the low E. And the rest of it is all double string stuff that's based around an E. Those are all in the E chord. All that works. And up here. This one's really neat. And while your thumb is hitting it, you're kind of doing all that funky stuff around it. Thumb has a mind of its own. Oh, let me tell you a little bit about the delay that I use. This is kind of your standard. Well, I don't know if it's standard. No, I think I kind of made it up, really. This is what I heard on the old Sun records, and it's kind of like one note and 3 delays after it that come really quick. Bop, 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 bop. Really quick. That lends a nice, for something quick, that's like a really nice sort of sound. You can also set the delay for a slow sort of thing if you're playing a ballad to make it really washy sounding. I'm going to get up and do that. So this would sound like this. Now that's the blues, and that's a little song that we did with the Stray Cats, that Lee, the bass player, sang called Drink That Bottle Down. And I got to sitting around one night thinking, well, that's great, you know, but I wonder if I could do something more, if I could change the chords and still make it work, rather than just going blunk, 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 blunk. So I thought, let me try something, and I came up with this. what I did there, I mean, that's a lot prettier. It's a whole different style, and yet the bass player can play the same notes. He doesn't have to do all those chords. I'm doing them, and yet it'll fit in with the bass. I'm substituting chords. So when I'm playing E, I'm going. I'm just leading all of the notes into that chord, into the A chord. So if I was to say, what's a man supposed to do when the blues have got him down? Oh. It also fills up a lot more space and makes it more interesting than if I was to go, what's a man supposed to do when the blues have got him down? You've heard that. You've heard it. So it's kind of nice to do that chord substitution stuff. Let me make up a little sort of solo for that. If I was going to come out of the chord progression into a solo. I can substitute solos, runs in the solo for the chords too. I don't have to be stuck. In other words, if I'm playing an A, I could play something in D flat minor that works. Okay? The D flat minor is the substitute for the A. It's a relative minor. So I can go like this in A, and then go. It's very pretty, all of that works. And I'm playing in D flat as opposed to A, but it works. Okay, just a quick thing about jazz chords, if you're going to play them and substitute them in. Let's take something that goes F, D minor, G minor to C. I'm just going to play that. That works great. Now listen to this. That's just a different way of playing every... You don't have to play every string, all 6 strings. A lot of times rhythm guitar best backs up an artist. You play 3 or 4 strings. So instead of a full F chord, I'll substitute and play an F6, but only play 4 strings. D minor, G minor, C7. Just 3 notes. Yet it sounds great. Then you go back to the 4. Just a word on that. Now back to rockabilly. Well, my baby and me went out late Saturday night. I had my hair piled high, baby just looked so right. Pick you up at 10, gonna have you home at 2. Mama don't know what I got to stop you. That's alright, cause we're looking as cool as can be. Well, found a little place that really didn't look half bad. Give me a whiskey on the rocks and change of $1 for the jukebox. Put a card right into that can. All it paid was disco, man. Come on, pretty baby, let's get out of here right away. Oh, rock this town, rock it inside out. Rock this town, make 'em scream and shout. Rock, 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 man, rock. Rock till we popping on a roll till we drop. Rock this town, rock this place apart. Just tearing up the big dance floor. Where's a real square cat loose 1974? Look at me once, look at me twice, look at me again, and there's gonna be a fight. Rock this town, tear that dance floor up. Wanna rock this town, rock it inside out. Rock this town, make 'em scream and shout. Wanna rock, 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 man, rock. Rock till we popping on a roll, man, roll. Rock this town, rip this place apart. Inside out. Rock this town, make 'em scream and shout. Oh, rock, 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 man, rock. Rock till we popping on the road till we drop. Rock this town, rip this place apart. Oh, rock this town, rock it inside out. Rock this town, rock it inside out. Well, that was fun. That was fun. Well, besides all the silliness and all there was some fun. There was some good stuff, fun stuff. Everything doesn't have to be a crazy feat of, guitar playing, I think. Some of it's just rock and roll, man, is when you're just getting on a note and, man, you feel it. So, first thing you got to do, if you're ever in the key of D, or if you're ever around the key of D, tune that E down to D. Here's D. Here's D. Low E goes down to D. close enough for rock and roll. And what's a cool little lick? Take your D chord, and now you got the whole bass thing going. To remember is when you play other chords, you got a D on the bottom. So if you play an A, it'll be a beautiful harp chord, but it won't work. So you just kind of compensate a little bit. Here's your A, G, F sharp minor. Just have to raise it up a step. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Let me show you something really neat that'll work in anything you do. It's a curveball after you've been throwing fastballs all night. It sounds great. It's I don't know what they call that scale, but it's really cool because you can do it in any key. So I'm buzzing around in D. See how you fit that in? You just throw it in. Another one of those is kind of like an augmented scale. It goes like this. And it's just nonsense. It's kind of fun. You throw it in there when you're getting too serious. Another really neat trick, not a trick, just like a chord stuff. It's nice to play some chord melody after you've been hitting people over the head kind of all night. You know, you're playing rock and roll, you're swinging, and you got all kinds of stuff. I'm really trebly, and then I switch over to the rhythm pickup. So here's how it would sound. Nice. It's nice. Oh yeah, it's another kind of fun thing. It's just kind of a wiggy thing. I turn on this power booster, and I just kind of go near the amp, and you get that, and I just kind of, here's the way it'll sound. It sounds like a bee buzzing or something. Very musical. But when you throw stuff like that in, it cuts up all the sameness. And I think that's the most important thing, mixing all the styles. The jazz runs, and then into the finger picking. And then you go into, rock and roll. All that stuff, a little steel. And then Hot Rod Lincoln. Yeah, get low. So all that stuff kind of works. And that's any other schmaz I can pull out of my brain, I use in that one, because that's always the closer for the Stray Cats. So I just kind of make it fun and nonsensical, really. But always reminding myself to keep mixing it up. Don't get too hung up on one musical style. Not too much straightforward rock. Don't get too jazzy. And just keep mixing that whole thing up. The steel licks. And then it just kind of happens, It'll happen for you. Well, that's about it, and I want to thank you for watching the tape and my first Hot Licks production video. I had a really great time. I was thinking about it for a while, and I really dug doing it. I hope you learned something. It's kind of nice on having a bass and drum set up here with you. I'm going to end with one of my favorite songs. Ooh, well, I got a gal with a record machine. When it comes to rockin', she's a queen. I love to dance on a Saturday night. All alone, I can hold her tight, but she lives on 20th floor of town. The elevator's broken down, so I walk 1, 2, 5, 3, 5, 4, 5, 6, 7, flight, 8, 5 more. I'm on the 12th, I'm starting the track. 15th floor, I'm ready to sag. Get to the top, I'm too tired to ride. Well, she calls me up on the telephone. Come on over, baby, I'm all alone. I said, baby, you're mighty sweet, but I'm in bed with aching feet. This went on for a couple of days, but I couldn't stay away. So I walked 1, 2, 5, 3, 5, 4, 5, 6, 7, 5, 8, 5 more. I'm on the 12th, I'm starting to drag. 15th floor, I'm ready to sing. Get to the top, I'm too tired to ride. Oh yeah! Up on the telephone, come on over, honey, I'm all alone. I said, baby, you're mighty sweet, but I'm in bed with aching feet. This went on for a couple of days, but I couldn't stay away. So I walked 1, 2, 5, 3, 5, 4, 5, 6, 7, 5, 8, 5 more. I'm on the 12th, I'm starting to drag. 15th floor, I'm ready to sag. Get to the top, I'm too tired to ride.